Hello friends, welcome back. Video. We will discuss one more critical listening exercise containing questions that are generally asked for CAT and other management entrance examinations. So the exercise is given in the PDF format. In the link to the exercise is there in the video description. So please click on the link and attempt the exercise first and then watch the video so that your learning points are maximized and you are able to internalize the techniques that are used in such exercises to arrive at the answers. So this is why I suggest that you first do the exercise and then watch the video. Okay, we'll straight away go to the questions. So the first question is talking about a embargo. What is an embargo? A restriction on trade or a restriction on buying or selling between two countries is called an embargo. So this country called Littora, which is selling a particular metal, which is a strategic metal. Strategic metal means something that is important. So this metal is imported or sold by this country to another country's agenda. And the passage says that if there is an embargo imposed by this country, Letora on Zenda, what will happen? The prices of that metal in Zenda would go up by at least 10 times. Why? Because this is why this metal price should go up? Because there are few other countries exporting the metal. Means few other countries, no other means no other countries. So there are this Letora is the only country which is exporting this metal to Zenda. So if Zenda is not receiving this metal, definitely the price will go up. So there is no doubt about that. And then with an embargo, what will happen? Zenda might have to depend on unexploited domestic resources. So they will have to. So it means the country will have to. This importing country Zenda will have to search for the domestic sources of the metal. Means in their country itself, they will have to see whether this metal is available. So this is the argument. So now your question is to find a serious objection to the analysis. Means you have to find a weakness in the argument or any statement that weakens the argument will be your answer. This is how you simplify the statement. So in any question, what you have to do is first to simplify the idea. So the idea here is if Letora is going to impose a trade embargo on Zenda, this particular metal which is exported only by Letora that will become unavailable, as a result of which Zenda will face problems. The cost of this metal in Zenda will go up and they will have to look at their own sources from which they can extract the metal. This is the argument. Now you have to find a statement that weakens this argument. Option A, Letora's economy depends heavily on foreign currency earned by the export of the strategic metal to other countries. So this is talking about whether Letora will impose the embargo or not. See, our question is not if Letora's economy is going to be affected because if they stop exporting this metal to Zenda or not. So the argument is that if this embargo is imposed, whether it is imposed or not, we don't know because there are a lot of questions that will arise. But if such an embargo is imposed, it will cause problems to the importing country. We are talking about the exporting country's problem here. That's not within our discussion. The discussion or the argument says that if this embargo is imposed by Litara on Zenda, Zenda will face problems. Here we are talking about what are the problems Litara is going to face if such an embargo is imposed or whether they will impose the embargo or not. That is not part of our discussion. It is outside the purview of what is argued here. Option B, there are foreign policy steps that Zenda could take to appease Littoral to avoid being subject to an embargo. See, again, it is talking about how Zenda can avoid the embargo. See, our argument is if this embargo is imposed, whether it will be imposed or not is not our discussion. Yes, Letora will face problems if the embargo is imposed. Senda can do a lot of things to avoid the embargo. That also is possible. The question in that we have been asked is if this embargo is imposed, Zenda will face problems. So, what is a statement that will weaken the conclusion? So, this argument is also talking about whether it will be imposed or not. We don't know. If it is imposed, Senda will face problems. That is the question we have. So, what Zenda could do to avoid the embargo or not is not within our discussion. So, you can avoid this. Option C, geologists believe additional deposits of metal could possibly be found within the territory of Littora. See, we are again, Littora is already having lot of resources of this metal. That is why they are exporting this metal to other countries. And they are the only country that is exporting this metal to other countries. So whether these additional deposits of the metal is could be found in Littora, that is not going to avoid the problems that Zenda could face in case of an embargo. We are talking about Zenda, not Littora. So if additional deposits of the mineral in Littora is not going to make any difference for Zenda, because the embargo, once it is imposed, will be they will not be able to get the metal. Option D, only a small proportion of Zenda's import expenditure is devoted to the import of the metal from Littora. It says that only their import expenditure is only very little as far as this metal is concerned. Maybe true. Even if it is true, whether the problems they are facing could be avoided, no, it could not be avoided. They will have the problem is not a problem regarding money. The problem is a problem regarding the availability, because Littora is the only country that is exporting this metal. A few other countries export the metal means what? Few means nil. So no other countries are exporting this metal. So Littora is the only country that is exporting this metal. So even if Senda is not spending too much money on import, since the embargo is there, they will not be able to get the metal, even if they are willing to pay a higher price. Because embargo means what? A complete restriction on buying or selling goods between countries is called an embargo. So if there is an embargo, whatever extra higher amount Zenda will pay, Zendara will still not be able to provide the metal to Zenda. So Zenda's problems could not be avoided because of this argument or because of this statement. So this is again wrong. So the only statement is remaining is option E. In case of an embargo, Zenda could buy the metal indirectly from Litara on the world market at less than one third of the increase in the cost. That means the embargo means directly the country will not be able to sell the metal to Zenda. Littora will not be able to directly sell, and Zenda will not be able to directly buy. But Littora is exporting to many other countries that we have seen from the passage. So these other countries are having the metal which they have received from Littora. So Zenda, what can they can do? They can purchase this metal from other countries, maybe at a higher cost. One third increase in the cost will be there, but that will not be a problem. So they will be able to purchase the metal. So this is how the problems that arise out of the embargo could be avoided. So this is the most serious objection to the analysis. The analysis is that Senda will face a lot of problems because of the embargo. So this statement says that Senda can avoid the problems by bypassing the embargo through the purchase of the metal from the world market from other countries to whom the Torah is selling. So this is why this will be answer, and this directly weakens the conclusion that is stated in the passage. So this is option A will be the answer. All right, next question again. You have to first simplify the idea and then think about the question as well as the option. So, what is the idea here? The conclusion in the passage is that postal service is mismanaged. So, the postal department or the postal service is mismanaged. What are the facts given in support of this conclusion? The cost has become tenfold. So, 40 years ago, first class letter delivery cost only 3 cents. Now it has increased by 10 times. So the cost has become 10 times, and there is a decrease in the efficiency. Means efficiency has not increased, the efficiency has actually decreased. Speed and reliability has decreased. So two facts are given to support the argument that postal service is mismanaged. One is cost has increased. Second one is efficiency has decreased. So our argument in the passage is postal service is mismanaged. Now we have to find a statement that does not weaken the argument. So it says that each of the following statements, if proved, weaken the argument except. So any statement that strengthens the argument is our answer. So any statement that supports the argument that postal service is mismanaged will be our answer. This is how you have to simplify the idea in your mind. The conclusion in the passage is postal service is mismanaged. We have to find a statement that supports this argument, or we have to find a statement that says that yes, postal service is mismanaged. Option A, the volume of mail handled by the postal service has increased dramatically over the last 40 years. Means what? Means their volume has handled, the volume they are handling is increased, means lot of customers are having the increasing faith in the services offered by postal service. That is why the volume has increased. So that, what does that mean? It means that postal service is not mismanaged. So it is weakening the argument in the passage. So this is not our answer. We have to find a statement that does not weaken the argument. So this is not our answer because it says that the postal service is not mismanaged. Option B, unprecedented increase in the cost of fuel for trucks and planes have put severe upward pressure on postal delivery costs. So this is again justifying the increase in the cost. When you are justifying the increase in the cost, what you are doing, you are weakening the fact that is used to support the argument. So what you are doing actually, you are weakening this argument because this statement is weakening the fact here. The fact given is that the price of postal services have increased tenfold. The option says that there is a very big increase in the cost of fuel for trucks and planes, as a result of which postal services have also the charges for postal services has also increased. So this is actually what it is doing. It is weakening the fact that is used to support the argument that postal service is mismanaged. Or in short, we can say that it is weakening the argument. Any any statement that weakens the fact will weaken the argument. So that is why this also is not our option, because we have to find a statement that does not weaken the argument. Option C, private delivery services usually charge more than the postal service for comparable delivery. So means what? Means the cost of services for private delivery is more than that of postal services. It is again giving you a statement that is weakening the fact that postal services, the price is very high. So the passage is saying price is very high, so postal service is inefficient. The option says that private delivery services are having more price than postal service. Means what? Postal service is not mismanaged. So this option is again uh, weakening the argument in the passage that postal services are mismanaged. It says that postal services are not mismanaged. Option D, the average delivery time for a first class article 4 decades ago was actually slightly longer than it was today. Means the delivery time has decreased. So it says that the delivery time has actually decreased than it was 40 years ago. Whereas the statement in the fact in the passage says that the delivery time has increased. A delivery time has increased. Actual decrease in the speed means delivery time has increased. So here the passage says that delivery time has increased. Option says that delivery time has decreased. So option is, what option is saying? It is saying that the efficiency of the postal department has increased. So it is saying that postal service is not mismanaged. So it is weakening the argument, whereas we need a statement that supports the argument. So this is not your answer. Option E, the average level of consumer prices overall has increased more than 300% over the last 40 years. Means what? What is 300%? Means three times. When something is increased by 100% means it is increased by one time. If it is increased by 200% means it is increased twice. So if it has increased by 100 becomes 200 means what? Increases in timely means as one time increase. So 100 means 200 becomes 200 means two times increase, and 100 becomes 300 means three times increase. So this is why the average level of consumer price increase by 300% means there is a threefold increase in the prices of consumer goods, whereas the increase in the price of postal delivery is how much? 10 times. So means what? While the normal consumer price increase is only three times, postal services have price has increased 10 times. Means the charges that are recovered by postal services are more than three times the increase in the price of consumer goods. Means the prices are exorbitantly high. So means what? The prices are exorbitantly high means it is not managed correctly, it is mismanaged. So this is actually supporting the fact used in the argument. So when any statement supports the fact used in the argument, it is directly supporting the argument. So here we need a statement that supports the argument. So this is that statement that is supporting the argument. It is not weakening the argument. It is supporting the argument. So option E will be the answer. All right. The third question. So the government has announced that a political leader who belongs to the opposition has died of a mysterious illness in prison. And when this announcement came, few seasoned observers of the regime were surprised. Few seasoned observers means no seasoned observers. So nobody who has been observing the activities of the government, they were surprised. So when the government announced that this particular opposition political leader died of a mysterious illness in prison, there were no surprises among the experienced observers of the government. Why? The next sentence will give you the reason. So the next sentence is actually talking about a comparison or an analogy. As the police captain in an old movie remarked when asked about the condition of a prisoner, we are trying to decide whether he committed suicide or trying to escape. So here the author is giving an analogy to understand what is the mindset of the observer. So when the observers learned about this announcement, and they thought about this particular incident in that old movie where the police captain is saying we are trying to decide whether he committed suicide or trying to explain. What is the underlying meaning means he is dead because he killed him. And now we are trying to ascertain what is the reason we should give for his death, whether we should state or make it as a suicide or whether we should make it as a death while trying to escape. So means what? They have killed him, and the police themselves have killed him, and they are trying to decide whether they should make it appear like a suicide or appear like a death while trying to escape. So this is the analogy. So what is, when you apply the analogy here, what is the thought of the observers? They know that this political leader from the opposition was killed by the government themselves. So this is why they were not surprised because the government might be doing those kind of things. So that they know that the government is capable of doing these things. So this now we have to find a proper conclusion. The statements above invite which are the following. So very clearly, the conclusion is that the observers are now confident that it was the government who killed the political leader. They are now trying to decide whether to make it look like a suicide or a death, accidental death. That is the answer. So opposition leader was probably killed trying to escape from prison. We don't know. Is trying to escape from prison or not, we don't know. The opposite, they are trying to make it look like he was killed while trying to escape from prison. So the leader was probably killed trying to escape from prison is not a proper conclusion. You cannot say that. Opposition leader may not be dead at all. No. The government itself has announced that the opposition leader is dead. Obviously, it is unlikely that the head of the regime knows the true cause. It is again wrong. It is very much likely that the government or head of the government knows the true cause of the opposition leader's death, and most likely he is responsible for the death as well. So that is why this unlikely that the head of the regime knows the true cause is wrong. Opposition leader probably killed himself. No, the government wants to make it look like a suicide or an accidental death. So the opposition leader he's not killed has not killed himself. This is again a wrong conclusion. The regime very likely was responsible for the death of the opposition leader. This is the answer because just like in the analogy where the police captain is saying we are trying to decide whether to he committed suicide or trying to escape means we are trying to make it decide whether to make it look like a suicide or an accidental death. In the same way, the regime was responsible and they are now trying to decide what should be the reason given or whether the mysterious illness is a good reason or a bad reason. So this is just a reason. Anyway, he has been killed by the government. So that is why the regime was responsible for the death of the opposite leader is the correct answer. All right, question number 4. Here, the passage says that there was a decrease in the number of birds living around the Great Lakes area because of the decrease in the number of fish. Then the birds were basically feeding on the fish in the lake, and the fish population decreased because of the pollution in the water due to the presence of toxins. As a result of which the bird population also started dying because the birds were primarily dependent on fish for their food. So when the food sources depleted, they started dying. But in this case, there were two species, haringals and terns, and terns were dying more rapidly than haringals. And the conclusion in the passage is that haringals are finding alternate sources of food from the garbage dumps situated on the coastal line or along the shores of the lake. There were a lot of places where garbage is dumped, and the haringals were finding alternate food sources from the garbage dumps, whereas terns are not doing that. That is why terns are exclusively dependent on fish for their food. So since the fish population is going down, terns are decreasing at a rapid rate than haringals. This is the conclusion. Now you have to find a statement that supports the conclusion. So here your task is to find a statement that supports the conclusion. Option A, survey shows that other bird populations in areas around the Great Lake have shown similar decreases. So here it is talking about other bird populations. Yeah, our conclusion is only about the comparison between haringals and terns, whether other bird populations are dying or what are the reasons, whether they are becoming extinct at the same rate or at different rates. All these things are not given here. So this statement is not helping us to support the conclusion made by the author. As a result of which, this cannot be our answer. Option B, a related study finds that fish population in the Great Lakes are affected as much by other predators as by population. It says that the fish is decreasing not just because of pollution, but because of other predators as well. Maybe true. If the fish is decreasing by other predators, what should happen? The population of terns and haringals should decrease at the same rate. But the research finds that the tern population is decreasing faster, whereas haringal population, since they are finding alternate sources of food, they are not decreasing that fast. So that is the conclusion. So this statement again is not helping us to either support or weaken that conclusion. So not your answer. Option C, maps of the area reveal that the largest garbage dump in the area is located 3 miles inland from the lake. What does that meaning? So means the largest garbage dump is located 3 miles inland from the lake. Basically the gulls are finding food from the garbage dumps along the shoreline. Means the garbage area situated along the shoreline or just near the coastal line. So here the largest garbage dump is only is 3 miles away from the shoreline. Yes, the largest garbage dump may be away from the shoreline, but the passage says that there are other garbage dumps along the shoreline from which the ringers are finding food. So just because the largest garbage dump is away, it does not mean that the haringals are finding food from the garbage dumps. It cannot be weakened. So this statement is not weakening. It is not supporting anyway. It is not weakening the passage, neither supporting nor weakening. So this is because we are not bothered with the largest garbage dump as long as the haringals are able to find garbage from other garbage dumps, they will survive. So whether the largest garbage dump is near or far is not going to affect the conclusion. Option D, blood tests performed on the girls reveal high levels of the types of fatty acid generally found in human food. So see, when the girls are consuming garbage, what is garbage? Garbage means the wastage of food that is consumed by humans. That is the main garbage because which is edible or which is what the girls will be eating. So the garbage dump means places where human food is dumped or human food waste is dumped. So when human food waste is consumed by girls, what will happen? They will have more fatty acids which are generally found in human food. So that is why when blood tests are finding finding that girls are having these kind of fatty acid, what does that mean? It means that girls are increasingly consuming wastage or food waste of human beings. So this is why it supports the conclusion in the passage. Girls are finding alternate sources of food from garbages. So this is a good answer. It can help us to prove our conclusion. Option E, analysis of water in the area where the birds nest reveal the toxin levels are actually slightly low below fish tolerance levels. Means the poisonous toxins in the water are not as damaging or as poisonous for the fish. That is beyond their tolerance level means it is below their tolerance level means fish can tolerate the level of poisonous pollutants in the water means fish can tolerate means they will not die. If they do not die, the food source is not affected. So the entire passage itself becomes wrong because with this statement, it means that the fish population is not affected by pollutants. If the fish population is not affected, neither the herringulls nor the terns will have any problems in finding food. So the entire passage is affected. So this is actually weakening whatever is stated in the passage, not about the conclusion. That has got nothing to do with the conclusion. The entire passage becomes weakened. So this is not our answer. We need to find a statement that supports the conclusion in the passage. That is option B. All right, question number 5. What is question number 5? Question number 5 says that the general belief is that scientists are producing their most creative work below the age of 40. And because when you become too old, your creativity decreases. So that is the general belief, which is the first argument. So the general belief is the first argument. It says that scientists generally produce their most creative work before the age of 40, because when you age, your creativity decreases. But then we talk about a study that finds that scientists who have done a lot of creative work after the age of 40, they have done this within a period of 12 years after entering the field. Means they entered the field of research late, but within a period of 12 years from the entry, they did their most remarkable work. Maybe by that time they had crossed the age of 40, but it was within the 12-year period after their entry into the field. And then the passage says that the scientists who had produced remarkable work under the age of 40, they also did their most remarkable work within the period of 12 years of entry into the field. So these two facts or these two evidences suggest that it is not because of age that uh, scientists after 40 are not doing any remarkable work. Generally, scientists enter into their field by the age of 25 or so. So if they have not done anything within 12 years of their entry into the field, they will not be doing any remarkable work. So that is the meaning. So the scientists, whether they are under 40 or above 40, they become more creative within 12 years of their entry into the field of research. If you cross the 12-year period of entry to the field, you will not be doing any creative work. This is the entire conclusion in the argument. Now, our question is to find the relationship between the two portions in the brackets. So, for the first portion in brackets is aging by itself brings about a loss of creative capacity. And second portion in the bracket is creative breakthroughs by scientists under 40 also occur within a dozen years of scientist entry into the field. So, what is the relationship? We have to see the options. First one, the first is the proposition that the argument as a whole defends. No, the argument as a whole is not defending this position. The argument as a whole is disproving this position. It says that it is not because of age that scientists are not getting creative after the age of 40. It is because they have spent too much time in their fields. This is the argument that the passage is defending, not that age is a impediment to creativity. So the first is a question that the argument as a whole defending is wrong. You need not even go to the next part. This is itself is wrong. Option B, the first and second are both claims that have been advanced in support of a position. No, that the argument as a whole opposes. The argument as a whole is in support. The first problem is that the first and second are both claims that advance in support of a position. These first and second portions are not supporting the same thing. First is supporting the fact that age is a problem when it comes to creativity. Second says that age is not a problem when it comes to creativity. So first and second are claims that have advanced in support of a position is wrong. They are not supporting the same position. And second problem is that the argument is opposing that position. So argument is actually supporting the position regarding the age not being an impediment. So this statement as a whole itself is wrong. Option C, the first is an explanation that the argument challenges. Correct. Because the argument as a whole is challenging the first position that age is a problem to creativity. That is what the entire argument is saying, that age is not a problem to creativity. It is the length of time that you spend in the field that is deciding whether you are creative or not creative. So first is an explanation that the argument is challenging. Correct. The second provides evidence in support of a competing explanation that the argument defends. Yes, the second is saying that creative breakthrough by scientists are under 40 also occur within a dozen years of the scientist. So whether you are above 40 or under 40, your most creative period is within 12 years of your entry into the field. This is why the second is providing evidence in support of a competing explanation that the argument is defending. So this is what the argument is defending. The argument is defending the argument that the 12-year period is the deciding factor when it comes to creativity. So this is a good answer. Keep it in your mind. Option D, the first is an explanation that the argument challenges. True. The first is an explanation that the argument is challenging. The second is evidence that has been used against an alternative explanation that the argument is defending. There is an alternative explanation. True. Argument is defending that alternative explanation. That also is true. But the second evidence is used to support that alternative evidence, because the second part is used in support of the alternative explanation or the second theory. So this is why second, the evidence is used against an alternative explanation is wrong. Second is, the second part is actually the evidence that is used to support the second theory. So that is why this is wrong again. Option E, the first is an explanation that the argument defends. Here itself wrong, because the argument is not defending the first explanation, it is opposing the first explanation. The second is evidence that has been used to challenge that explanation. That is true. The first is an explanation that the argument is defending is false. The argument is challenging it. So this is why this also is wrong. So very clearly, option C is the answer, because the first part is something that the argument is opposing. Second part is an evidence that is used by the argument to prove the second theory, which is what the argument is supporting. That is why option C will be your answer. So that's all for now. I hope you have found the contents to be useful and you have got some learning points regarding the techniques that you can use in your actual critical reasoning. So critical C, you have to combine your critical reasoning skills along with your reading comprehension skills in your RC passages as well as critical reasoning questions. I have reminded you, or I have already told you, that critical reasoning questions may not be separately asked in CAT nowadays. Generally, they are not there, but it is forming part of your RC passages. So you have to combine both the skills, the critical reasoning skills, as well as your comprehension skills to arrive at the answer. So always understanding is the most important thing. Only when you understand the paragraphs, the question, as well as the options very clearly and meticulously, you will be able to eliminate the wrong options and arrive at the correct answer. So please, this skill can be developed through continuous practice. That is why I'm coming up with several videos on the subject. If you have found the video to be useful in your preparation, kindly like, share, and subscribe, and try to help me to maximize my reach so that I'll get motivated to come out with further videos. Thank you. Bye bye.